Jail. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. To accept charges, press 1. To refuse charges, press 2.
Well, hello there, Amy. Oh, I'm doing just fine, and I hear you're settling in pretty well over there in the jail. Yeah, I know it's a shocker. It's very traumatic to be in there, so I'm sure your mind is spinning wildly. But at least you're making the best of the circumstances. Yeah, it would be a whole lot better not to have committed a crime and not to have been arrested. But yeah, we got to do with what we got to handle the situation the best we can. And from what I hear, you're doing pretty good. And I'm glad you finally got the message and gave me a call. So it's sometimes it helps just to talk. But I want you to know that I'm out here with you. There's a lot of people who support you. So just hang in there and we'll get through this one way or the other, and slowly but surely. Well, I will talk to the people over at the prison and see if we can get somebody to guide you through and help you out. There's good people, there's bad people, there's good cops, bad cops. It's just it's the way of the world. I'm not a big fan of the Washington Correction Center for Women because there's been a lot of stuff that's going on in there that they're trying to hide, and they do keep me busy because there's a lot of people in there that just want to talk and share their story, and I'm getting more and more of those requests, and that's the kind of stuff that I want to put out there and show people what's going on. And so the best way to handle that is to share the information and get some support. And if you find something like that going on, just let me know. We can always get you legal representation or help you to file charges if you want to do something like that. The staff want you to feel that they're immune to stuff, but they're not. If they break the law, they could be arrested. And we've seen that happen a few times, especially those that like to smuggle in drugs. Now, remember, when you do get to prison, there's a chance you'll find out about some misconduct that goes on. I know in a federal prison, they discovered that there was a lot of sexual misconduct going on, and the prison was eventually shut down. And now, with this being exposed, the victims who've been trying really hard to get this information out and to make their stay there relatively comfortable and law-abiding, they finally get a chance to speak out and get some stuff done. Some of them might even be able to get out early, get some clemency. And I hope you don't run into that over there. Most of the sexual abuse is from other inmates, and you will be in there with biological males. I know there's a few that had the surgery, and those I feel comfortable with because my fiance is over there. And I don't want one of these guys to be in the same room with her. That would make me very uncomfortable.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I'm sure she can handle it, but, being on the outside, that kind of makes me nervous. Yeah, and that's good. I'm glad you've been listening to that, because I know there's a lot of rumors and stuff, but you got to take everything in there seriously that you hear. And so if somebody says this person is abusing people, just be on the lookout. Okay, well, don't be a stranger. Thanks for the call.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Take care of yourself, and when you do get to the prison, make sure you reach out to me. I'll add you to my Securus account, and we'll chat a bit, see how things are going. Well, okay, and you do the best you can to stay positive. Well, good. Glad to hear it. Okay, goodbye.
Hi, this is Kimberly Carter, tuned into my podcast where I expose the harsh realities of prison overcrowding while inviting listeners to be part of a collective effort for change. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hello, welcome to AQS Inmate Call, and I'm your host, Joel Wilborn. And in this episode, I want to talk about an incident that happened that I can relate to prisons in the state of Washington. But it's when prison officials abuse their authority. Now, a lot of the people who are in prison, when they confront a prison official who's doing something that's obviously wrong, just violating their human rights, or maybe stealing something, the official a lot of times will say, I'm immune to this. This is not going to affect me. I can't be fired, or something that's trying to discourage the person from reporting them. Or they might turn around and say, I know a lot of people, I could really get you in trouble, or you can go to SEG, or I could just deny you certain things. And that can be intimidating to people that are just trying to get out of prison. They don't like being there, and if they feel that reporting things isn't going to do any good, it's more like, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And that, to me, is something that needs to be addressed. Now, I know in the past, 60 Minutes did a story on federal prison and some of the abuse that's going on in there. And talking to the officials, they're more or less like, this stuff happens. And you get that old saying that you do the crime, you do the time. And that includes, you have to deal with the abuse. And that's where advocates come in, and family members. I work with family members. I work with incarcerated people, and I work with a lot of government officials to try to get the prison to do what it's supposed to do. And I'm not asking for my pillows or mattresses or comfortable house shoes or warm water. I'm asking that the law and policies be followed. And it's kind of funny that we would even have to do something like that. Imagine you live in a neighborhood and there's people zipping up and down the road. Maybe it's a 20 mile an hour speed limit, but they're going 40 and 50 miles an hour. And you report it to the police officers, and then they just don't do anything. It's like, well, your job is to monitor and enforce the speed limit on the street. And if we call you to do what you're paid to do, which is part of your job description, and you don't do it, we got an issue here. But if you tell them you need to sit at this street 24 hours a day watching the people speed up and down the road, no, that's not what they're required to do. And there's a fine line between that. So in these prisons, they're supposed to follow state and federal law, and they're supposed to adhere to their policy. And they're definitely supposed to enforce it. Now, we have a person in Spokane, Washington, who was in prison and was treated very badly. Now, just like a lot of people, and this includes my fiance as well, drugs get involved. And drug addiction is a disease. It's something that needs to be treated by a professional. We can't just... There's times that I feel that if I work with somebody who's addicted, I can help them overcome it. But that's a false hope, and I shouldn't really look to that. But as a community, as a team, we get professionals involved, we get family members, friends. we could help someone like that. But the underlining theme here is that these people have to want to quit using these drugs. They have to want to end this addiction, and they have to work toward it. And I've been successful in a few cases with that because these people want to quit and they're willing to take the steps to do it. But then if they don't, there's not much you can do about that. And so when people go to prison for a drug addiction, I immediately say they shouldn't be in there for like 20 years or something. It should be looked at and treated properly, and that's what I expect. That's the resources that should be available. A person who goes to prison and is a known addict should be put into a different category as somebody who's a thief or a murderer and is not associated with drug abuse in the first place. And so these folks should get counseling. They should get medical treatment for prescriptions, and they should definitely be watched. And so when this local resident, Erin Laureano, she went to federal prison in Dublin, California. Now, I'm not exactly sure what she expected when she got there, but I'm pretty sure in the back of her mind that she didn't expect to be abused and her rights be violated, or that she would not receive the basic necessities like food, shelter, medical supplies, clothing. So when she goes in there and she's hearing these things that these people are saying that these officials do, it was really hard for her to accept that. But of course, she puts her feelers out and just makes sure that, you know, I was warned of this, I'm going to keep an eye on it. And then she witnesses it. Now, she filed the federal lawsuit against the people that were involved in this abuse over at the prison, and it was against the United States, Daryl W. Smith, and Ray J. Garcia. Now, Ray J. Garcia was the warden at that prison. He wasn't fired, but he took an early retirement, and now he's in prison for 6 years because of the things that he did. But that doesn't mean he can't be taken to court by some other people. And Erin is going to do that, which is good because she needs to. While she was in this prison, and she got caught up in the drugs, which, if you know anybody that's addicted to drugs, you know a lot of them don't want to be. But something, whatever it might be, got them in there, and then they're stuck. And it's a long road to get out of that. So she goes to prison, and these people, these prison officials that we're supposed to trust, that we pay to do their job, they were watching her in the shower, watching her when she was on the toilet. She would go to the kitchen to get a sack lunch, and they would say, we're not going to give you anything until you expose yourself, to show them a private part. And one incident was where a woman was locked in her cell, and the guard came by and looked through the window, and she was trying to get out. She said, open the door. And he says, no, I'm not going to open the door until you pull down your pants. And another one said that they were in their prison cell, and the guard, and this is one of the ones that Erin is going against, Daryl W. Smith, that he walked by and he says, when I come back around, you both better be naked. Now, this is something that causes trauma. You can't just be treated like that and expect to live a normal life. Some of the folks that are in prison, they had trauma before they went to prison. Maybe child abuse or sexual assault, or maybe just into an abusive relationship where they were constantly beat. And then they go to prison, and in some cases they're treated worse. Why do we want to send people to prison only to come out worse than they went in? That's the last thing that you want. Even victims who know that the person who committed this crime is in prison, they may be happy. This person got enough time that they're saying, this is what this individual deserves after what was done to me. But if the person turns on the news, let's say 60 Minutes, and finds out that this person was treated very poorly, abused for years, and then got out and killed somebody, I'm sure that victim would feel, no, this is not what I wanted. I'm glad the person went to prison, but I did not want this person to be abused so badly that getting out put this individual in a worse condition than I had. And usually the victims get a lot of good support, but when a convicted criminal becomes a victim, it's like we don't need to give them the support. A victim or a perpetrator who becomes a victim, it's not uncommon. And in this Dublin, California, it was just ridiculous. And now that the indictments and arrests are coming out, and there's a lot of them a lot of prison officials that were arrested, then the women can come out and talk. Now, Erin, while she was in prison, she was doing everything she was supposed to do. She was reaching out to people and she was contacting, but she got threats. If you keep telling people this on the phone, we'll do this to you. Or we'll confine you, solitary confinement or something. And the warden wasn't stopping it. So when you have most of the prison that's doing that, it's kind of hard to get away from it. Fortunately, there was one of the officials that just had enough of it and was a whistleblower. And in the state of Washington, whistleblowers are allowed to avoid retaliation. And so that's a good thing. And it means that if there's a law being broken, a person should be allowed to report it and not be retaliated against. But in the prison, when people tell me things to broadcast, there are instances where they're retaliated against. It's not as bad as it was when I first started out. Now there's a lot that are just being offered something. If you'll stop broadcasting about me or naming these people, we'll give you some kind of benefit. I mean, that's allowed. So I'm not going to argue against that. And sometimes it really helps them. Sexual benefits, if a person needs drugs because they're addicted and they have to have sex with one of the prison officials, no. And then putting biological males who claim to be a woman, but they're not. They're still built as a man and act as a man and have men instincts. They wind up having sex with somebody in there. We got an issue here. Especially if they're using their male advantage to threaten the women or to extort from the woman. I know in Washington Correction Center for Women, one of the transgender women, Amber Kim, told the media that she was enticed by the person that she had sex with. And that person said, that's a lie. And I like to put that out there because these misconceptions that we have that all these people are just bad people and they need to be locked up in there and they deserve whatever they get or whatever treatment they get, we have to consider this. This is something you can talk to your friends and family about, co-workers. These people are coming out of prison eventually. Those that are in there for life, they develop a little immunity thing. What are you going to do to me? They could plan an escape, get out, go back, they're still in there for life. They can kill somebody that's in prison, they're still in there for life. They're the most dangerous prisoners. And I haven't heard a lot of complaints from people who are in there for life. But people who are in there for drug abuse, usually it's, it could be between 5, 15 years or so that they get out. And so you got this person that goes in there, they're treated badly by the staff, and then they come out. What happens? There are a lot of repeat offenders, and we'll blame the individual. Come back and they'll go on this crime spree, arrest them, put them in prison, and then people yell at them, you did this and you did that and you're this monster. Well, what created that? If these people are coming out of prison and committing crimes, some worse than the one that got them in prison in the first place, we can't completely blame this individual. And I think before sentencing, they should go back and look at what the prison did. When this person was in prison previously, was counseling given or was it offered? Was there proper medication? Was the person put in the right unit? Was the person abused? And so when you got a person, maybe a teenager, that's in prison with a bunch of sexual predators, thieves, murderers, and general people that like gang members that just get their kicks off of harming folks. When they're locked in there with these people, the people we try to avoid, stay away from out here, but when they're in there, in the same room, eating next to them, showering next to them, and there's conflict, you can't be surprised. Because look where they are. Look who they're with. And so the prison guards, prison officials, they all should know this is going to happen. How can you not know that? How can you not put that into the calculations when figuring out a person should go to prison? My rule is if the prison isn't staffed enough or doesn't have the resources, don't send people to the prison. Especially don't send them there for long periods of time. You're just going to make matters worse. And trauma comes automatically with these folks. They walk through the prison doors and then reality sets in. I committed this crime. I was caught. I've got people out there who hate me. My family's going to abandon me. I have no freedom. What's going to happen to me in here? What kind of medical attention can I get? Is anybody going to betray me, stab me in the back, harm me? All these things, plus more, are going through their mind. And that creates trauma. And one thing that causes trauma is the people feel guilt. They committed this crime, they got caught, they're locked up, they could be in there for several years, and they feel really bad. Look what I did. I know I've watched some news reports where they're saying that the people want to reach out and ask the family members for forgiveness, or they call themselves a monster or a terrible person. And then you have those that commit suicide after they get in there, and some of them right before they do, because something in their mind is showing them they don't want to live through this. And it could be guilt. So don't think that even the most violent criminals, when they go to prison, they're not thinking about what they did. Now we've got those that think about it, but they don't care. And then we have those that think about it, and they do. And we need to single out who's who. Those that feel guilty about what they did, we don't want to keep rubbing it in their face. Let's help them get through it, help them find the resources they need to get back out and get their life back in order. And one of the things I help with is when the people walk out the door. Now, here lately, the people in prison are asking more, but there's some that are getting out. And I can meet them at the prison. I can meet them when they arrive to their destination. But I immediately want to help them get housing, get a home, get a job, get some people they can contact in case something comes up. And it's a task. But they're thankful they have somebody out there to do that. And I'm thankful I can do it for them. But there was one time I went down to visit somebody in jail, and there was a woman just walking around. She says, I have no money. They just let me out. I need to get a bus so I can go home. And when you get out of jail and they hand you this check, what are you supposed to do? And it just got me to thinking, this poor woman is trying to get home. And in one case, a person had to walk. They messed up his early release date, and he wasn't planning. He had not planned anything, and so he was just stuck doing the best he can. And a lot of these convicted felons and criminals, they're not idiots. They'll use whatever available resource they have. I know I have people that say, will you call this person? Will you text this person? Will you ask this person to send me some money? And they're trying. They're just using what they know to get by. But a good, sound release assistance will really help people out. Especially those that go through the trauma that Aaron went through. We need to stop that. We need to take the prison where there's a good chance that we could prevent future occurrences, because your neighbor, we don't know if that person's a criminal or is going to go out and do something. But the people that are locked up, we know that. And we know we could help those folks. And we could prevent them from doing anything else. Just think about the news, how often you hear of people that commit a crime, go to prison, get out, and continue committing crimes. What happened? What was in between? It's like going to a cemetery and seeing a tombstone, and you see the year of birth, and you see this dash, and the year of death. What's the dash? What's all that mean? You got a person who commits a crime, goes to prison, then there's that dash, and then the person gets out of prison. What happened there? What was in between those two dates? And if it's a collective effort to give these people the resources and the assistance that they need to get out and get their life back in order, then there's a good chance we have success. But if it was offered and they refused to, and they wound up going back in there, yeah, they need a harsher sentence the next time they go in there. But if we gave them all the resources, they took advantage of it, and they got out and never went back, that's a success. And we can do that with all of them. And then eventually, the prisons won't even be needed. People might be able to go to in-home monitoring and have a counselor or something come by and sit and talk with the folks. Or maybe they'll be required to go through training or drug treatment. And if they miss it, then they go back to prison. There's a lot we can do. But we have to point out the problem. And the problem is the resources are not being made available to the people that get in there. And, even though Aaron says, I don't want to go back to prison because I don't want to go through that, there's no guarantee that if she does go back to prison, she won't be traumatized by all this stuff. And maybe the next time, if that happens, and I hope it doesn't, and she gets out, and she's just rebellious. It's like, just forget it. No matter what I do, it's going to turn out bad. And so she might wind up becoming a very violent criminal. Something that we could have prevented. But fortunately, with her, she's speaking out, and other people are listening. And I even have a little short story on my YouTube channel. So I ask that you tune in. I ask you to look on the internet. Look up Dirty Dick Smith and read some of the stories that these people have. And then let's get together and let's try to prevent future crimes by fixing this system that's falling apart right in front of us. Well, thanks for tuning in. Have yourself a marvelous day and go out and make fantastic memories for tomorrow.